Hello and welcome to Hissy's Hideaway. I am Hissy and this is Godless Scummer. And today we are taking you through the story of Asterix and Cleopatra from the Asterix and Obelix comic books. So, hello to everyone in the chat. I can see Ringing there. Hi, hubby. And I can see somebody new, or new to me anyway, Exploratory Minds Project. Thanks for dropping by. And to anyone else who's going to be watching now or in the future, thank you for coming and you're more than welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I see Hops Watcher, so he's just popped into the chat as well. But yeah, this yeah, well, what are we on now? Book 6 of this. So we've gone through 6 of these books. It's gonna be quite an interesting one, I think, to get through today. Is there's quite a lot about obviously Egyptian history and so on in the way that it's and in this and it, but once again, I think we are going to have to there's things in this we're going to have to address because it's it just does not hold up well at all. And we've talked about it before, but I think there's things we're going to have to address with this as well that are problematic. So we can't if we're going to do these things, we can't shy away from that. So, what your thoughts on that are, Hissy?
Yeah, my thoughts at the moment are there doesn't seem to be racism like 1960s French racism. But I'm sure we'll get into it in a bit more depth. As always, if you do want to hear us from the first time we responded to this happen in these books, there's a link to our Asterix and the Gladiator stream in the description below. First 10 minutes of that, it's all we talked about, and we went into quite a lot of depth. Probably going to end up going into a fair bit of depth in this one as well. But we will, obviously, we're here to enjoy the story as well, so we'll give that a go.
Yeah, I mean, we are here to have fun and enjoy these, and look, even talk a little bit about the actual history as well as having a bit of fun with these. But as we said, there are problems in there, and it would be intellectually dishonest of us not to address them. So. Just so just be aware, and I'll say it at the start of the stream. Trigger warnings if you are, if you are not comfortable with some of the depictions or whatever of like racist depictions. So I will give trigger warnings at the start of this.
Yeah. And we do have to give them right at the start because it's in, I think, like the second panel.
Yeah, pretty
so please just take this as a blanket warning throughout. Obviously, if we see it's going to come up during, we'll give the warnings as we've been doing. But just be aware, it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and defend it. I have major issues with depictions of race in these books, but quite frankly, there are other things going on as well, which I think are quite interesting, and there's something I want to tease out in this one, which interests me from a sort of sociological point of view. I think it's sociological, but we'll get into it. So anyway, on we go. Asterix and Cleopatra. For anyone who knows anything about history, we know that Cleopatra was the Queen of Egypt. And so that's where we're going to be going. And we're going to head on up. But I think it's south to us, isn't it? Egypt. Just about. We're going to head down there now.
Yeah.
And see what we can see. So I do have to say, I do love the cover image of this one. Yeah. I think it's very well done. Just that is, I like that. So again, with the let me zoom out a little bit.
And I should actually say that this is one of the most successful books in some respects, because this when they came to make the second Asterix animated film, this is the one they chose, and a lot of people think that particular film is one of the best of the like film versions of Asterix. And when they and when they were started doing the live action films, this was again the second of the live action films is very heavily based on this as well. So this was obviously very popular, and it seems to be like something that they've gone back to for like other projects and so on. So
absolutely. Now the hook on this one's very simple. Julius Caesar and Cleopatra have a bet that she can't build a brand new palace in 3 months. Very simple. I have issues with the way it's presented and the way it's framed. From what I know, and disclaimer, not my area. Hissy isn't an Egyptologist. Please don't at me. From what I know, Caesar and Cleopatra were very much in love. They had a son together. They were talking about unifying, or they were trying to unify the Roman Empire in Egypt. And, you know, she broke several generations of tradition in her family to marry him. He broke way more traditions than that to marry her, including engaging in an Egyptian polyamorous relationship with her because she was already married, which to the Romans was a bit, you know, little bit odd.
And it's just to be clear, she was actually married. I believe she was actually married to her brother.
Yeah,
if that's correct. Who was a boy at the time, but this was the Ptolemaic dynasty of Egypt, who date back from Ptolemy, who was one of Alexander's generals. And when Alexander died, and they all divvied up what his empire, the Ptolemy got Egypt effectively. So, but they for generations they've been inbreeding for generations in that family. By the time we get to Cleopatra, because of this idea of keeping the bloodline pure, and
making sure no one else can sort of muscle in on the bloodline.
Yeah.
So the fact that she married outside of the bloodline is important. The fact that Julius Caesar, any other man in Roman history had tried to pull that off before him, would not have gotten away with it.
Yeah.
And we know what happened after him. But
I was gonna say it's arguable that he didn't really get away with it ultimately, but
I mean, ultimately he didn't. But the fact that he dared to bring her and his son to Rome. I cannot emphasize enough how brass his bollocks must have been to pull that off.
Yeah.
And not be completely ostracized and overthrown just for doing that. So, you know, the idea that he would insult her country, insult her people, and be that flippant is a bit. I'm not too happy with it. One thing I am very happy about, though, because, you know, moving on, the nose. What a nose. Absolutely, what a nose. Absolutely brilliant. Cleopatra, famed beauty. She's described as being charismatic, intelligent, capable of keeping up with world leaders all around the world. Well, insofar as the world they knew existed at that time. And her beauty is, if you look at some of the coin etchings of her nose is very much the defining feature of her face. So she wasn't, she's known as this great beauty, but it was more, you didn't notice what she looked like because she was so intelligent, so charismatic, so, you know, she had nous. She was that kind of a woman. And there's also the fact that it's the Roman nose. So she was appealing to the Romans because it was their ideal of beauty. You know, at the end, she's of the line of the Telemnes, as you said, you know. That bloodline is about as interbred as you get. So following it through, it makes sense that the features are going to become more and more pronounced with every generation.
Yeah. And the nose is going to be a lot of recurring joke throughout this book. So it's
definitely. There's a reason I made a banner out of it.
Yeah.
But that's the general hook. So that's where we're at with it. And again, just not much we can do about the racist depictions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we did warn people, but
yeah.
it's pretty damn bad.
Yeah, and this temper of hers again, fair bit of historical accuracy there. That so many nose jokes. I mean, this one, she's a nice girl. If only her nose wasn't so easily put out of joint.
Yeah.
But
a pretty nose. But a pretty nose.
Pretty nose. Yeah. So quite nice that as a woman to see a woman, you know, she's got a big nose. They're not pretending it's not a great honker, you know, but it's still pretty. So it's nice.
It's probably not, to be honest. I could imagine today hearing men talk about a pretty woman, that the nose is not going to be the feature. They're going to tend to notice. I'm going to say, but we'll.
Although, to be honest, her nose historically was so big, that's probably all they could notice. Probably didn't get much further.
Yeah.
So that is entirely the point. Her nose was this defining feature of her. But she, again, really intelligent woman.
Yeah.
You have to be to survive in that time and place as a woman, as royalty.
I've got to say, this panel we've got to here. Because she summons one of her architects here to build the palace, but this thing straight off, the hieroglyph speech bubbles, I thought was absolutely fantastic. And the next panel next to it, they're they're saying, for the convenience of our readers, we've dubbed over the original dialogue, so it's been dubbed into English.
And then this, owing to the fact that dubbing techniques had not been perfected at this period, movement of the lips does not synchronize very well with the words.
Yes.
Which is just, I love it. I think it's brilliant. It's a great joke, and it stands. And this idea of a queen complaining because she can hear the neighbours and the ceilings are falling down is just even when with royalty, it's, you know, the jokes are there immediately. And he's now got 3 months or he's going to be thrown to the crocodiles.
Yeah.
This thing about being thrown to the crocodiles crops up a lot. I mean, it would be on my mind as well if I had 3 months to build something spectacular or be eaten. So it does crop up a fair bit. I'm not sure whether to apologise or not, Hopswatch. But no, enjoy.
Yeah.
So let's see. And this architect, poor guy, decides now he needs someone who can work magic.
Yeah. He's named Edifice, by the way, so you can see they're keeping up the tradition of puns with names. But he's he's wondering how to do this. But then he realizes he knows someone who he actually is aware of, or knows someone who can help him out here. He knows and so cut to our little village in Gaul, and
Asterix and Getafix are playing dice. Now, there was a Roman dice game. I don't think they were rolling for 3 6s. I think they were rolling for one. I think it's 1 3 6 or something like that. Where the aim of the game is very simple. You roll and you try and get the numbers. That's a nice little amusing joke of.
Actually, I mean, I found like something you go and like on the Google like Roman dice, so what you can actually see of them. They don't actually have Roman numerals. They look very, very similar to modern dice, actually, the way with the dots on them, actually. So if this is what's to be believed, so
yeah. So there's various games. Let's see. The closest they're playing, because I did have a list of dice games and it was on one of them.
Yeah.
And I think there's a game called like Legion or something very similar, where you
Yeah.
have to roll a certain number. But that's.
I like the fact that in this panel, though, Obelix said this Roman game will never catch on.
So that's a bit. I think it's a forerunner of I think it's called Yahtzee. I'm not much of a dice person, but
yeah,
it's a forerunner of that. And then off we go. It's now. So we've got. I do like the snow setting here. A little bit of winter.
Yeah.
And for the first time, we see that Obelisk has found his puppy. And that is just a cute little image of him petting the puppy.
Yeah, that was that. I think that was your favourite thing about last week's one was the puppy, which we now, as I said, we now know that he has a name, and he and Obelix are pretty much inseparable from this point on. This is dogmatics.
But yeah. So that's quite nice. And then I do love the mental image of this Egyptian guy who's probably never seen snow in his life arriving in Gaul as it's like 2 or 3 feet in snow, judging by the way it's drawn. That amuses me no end.
Yeah.
And then runs across Jetafix. And then what do we have? This explains the situation to Jetafix. And of course, all Obelix can think about is, which I quite like, a crocodile's nice to eat. Which, typical.
That's Obelix. We know Obelix by now. That's generally not far. That's generally not far from his mind. His food.
Mm-hmm. And then let's see. And it just so happens that Jetafix has been fixing to go to the Library of Alexandria anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into all that. Suffice to say, what most people think of the Library of Alexandria isn't. It was more the private library of the Ptolemies.
Yeah.
That grew over time. And one of the Ptolemies very famously, whether true or not, famously, took every book off every ship that came in, had it copied, and give the copies back to the ships in order to grow the library. And I'm sure, as an academic, I have mixed feelings about that. You could have given them back the originals, mate. But
there's only a little bit of it left standing now, anyway, because there's a bit of a ruin of it, a little bit of it, a ruin standing, but it kind of famously was burned down. A lot of the books went up in smoke, unfortunately, of what was there, and that was much later on.
Yeah. So, and now we've got getting ready to go, and the argument over whether the dog can come.
Yes.
Spoiler alert. The dog comes. Yes.
Yeah.
So.
You get you just love the way that Obelix pouts and sulks every time he gets into something with Asterix, and it's what they do. Argue with one another from time to time. They really it's like they really have big shouting matches, but it's pretty soon. They always seem to hug and make up pretty soon, So
I get the impression they're more like brothers than anything else.
Yeah.
But the reason I've stopped it here is because the next row of panels is hilarious. I love the subversion of its own comedy in this one. So the subversion of expectations in this is just brilliant.
Poor old Cacophonix.
Poor Cacophonix.
And he's just getting back. You're not gonna see. He gets a beating. But he was actually just saying. I wasn't gonna see. I just wanted to tell him that he was treading on my toe.
So there we go, and then off they go down to the port, I suppose, or the beach, from what you can make out of it.
And you hear a little woof come from Obelix's bag. So
yeah.
Asterix, you might as well let him out, you pig-headed idiot,
Puppy. So I do like the name of the ship. The Nasty Upset.
Yeah.
Which is it's even funnier when you see what happens with that ship. So here we go. Okay. So this is where we're at. I do have to say I do enjoy the Egyptian hieroglyph speech bubbles, mainly because if you actually look at the pictures, they are a visual pun of what they're supposed to be saying a lot of the time. So.
Well, hi Jen. Just see Jen's come into the chat.
Hi Jen. So we've got labour troubles, time factor, the Romans. So it's basically the building industry has not changed in 2,500 years.
Yeah.
At all. So.
And you also find out that there's a rival architect called Artifice who's not particularly happy about the fact that he hasn't got this contract, I don't think. And he and Edifice don't like one another, and so we'll come to find out this guy Artifice is going to make a number of attempts to sabotage the project.
He is, but before they even get there, the poor pirates. This poor pirate, he's only trying to do his job. He's now left his son as deposit on a ship, and then decides he's not going to attack any ship that the Gauls could possibly be on. So no Phoenicians, no Romans, no Gaulish ships. He's going to go for an Egyptian ship. And guess what?
Yeah.
Poor bloke just can't catch a break.
And it's like, and when Obelix sees him, he's like, "Yoo-hoo, we're coming! Hello!" And this time they don't even bother. They're not even going to bother to fight. He basically gets the axe out and scuttles the ship. He's just like
himself because it's
Like, so let's just we know how this is going to end. So it's like
This one amuses me. One more classical remark from you, I'll make you eat your wooden leg.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then outside unsporting.
Obelix is he's a little bit. He's just he's annoyed that they've done that to themselves, and he didn't get a chance to knock some heads together. And then they write down here. So we had the first look at the Pharos, and which is the famous lighthouse of Alexandria, which was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world.
Yeah, I think they found that recently. And when I say recently, I mean recently for archaeologists.
Yeah, I believe it's I've got a feeling it's underwater though, so I think it was an earthquake that felled it.
Where is
it? Don't quote me on that, but I got a feeling that it's underwater.
Disclaimer: Hissy isn't an Egyptologist. I have no idea. So wrecking. Let's see. I mean, Google says there were 3 different earthquakes over the course of about 300 years, and it's now submerged.
Yeah.
They were talking about taking the ruins of Alexandria and the lighthouse and doing some kind of underwater museum. Whether that will ever come to fruition, given the situation in Egypt over the last 15 years, your guess is as good as mine.
But I like I love this quote by Obelix: "A tower to guide ships. These Egyptians are crazy."
Yeah.
I'm gonna say he wasn't much of a prophet, was our Obelix.
No, he was a bit.
He didn't realize his dice were going to catch on. He didn't.
Yeah, but he's stuck in his ways. And yes, you can come back and laugh at me for saying that at the end. So here the land off to the coast. I do like, these columns and this artistic style. It's the Ptolemies. The Ptolemies were Greeks.
Yeah.
So this artistic style is not necessarily historically inaccurate.
Yeah.
So here we go, all the way through. Meeting the Queen. I do like this idea that she put pearls in vinegar and drank it. I think it was meant to be to make her hair shiny or something. I agree, Ring. But the it's something that, as far as we know, she did. I think, again, he's not an Egyptologist. It's something that rings a bell anywhere.
I mean, yeah, I will say, it was just Ron Ring's comment there. It's just to sidetrack for a second on that. That it's actually quite amazing what you can do to recreate effects in a museum setting now. To for example, in Portsmouth, there was a big investment to build a new museum to house the wreckage of the Mary Rose. Which, I mean, what's left of it is pretty much, is just not even half, but about a third of the ship and where it's housed. But they've kind of recreated the museum in a way to give you a kind of almost a bit of a feel as if you're on the ship, even though you're not. So so it's quite clever what you can do.
They do it at some of the huts at Eden Camp as well, which is a Second World War museum. There's one where you walk in and it's like being in a submarine, even down to your breathing echoing. It's really eerie. And there's a lot they can do. Museum curators and museums in general do a lot of really good stuff. And it's it is a growing area, and they're still constantly advancing. But the idea of mapping it underwater and creating a virtual museum is definitely valid. I know they were talking about rebuilding or building a copy of it, of the Pharos lighthouse as well. So I think they said they were going to do that in 2015. I don't know what's going on with that.
I would probably just imagine that the political situation in Egypt over the last decade hasn't left room for a lot of these projects. So,
yeah, it's been a bit up and down, shall we say, and leave it at that.
But anyway, I think we're kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent there, but
bit of a tangent there, although an interesting one. Definitely support your local museums. I'm going to get on my high horse for a second. Support your local museums.
I'll second that.
Yeah. So here we go. Edifice arrives and introduces them to Cleopatra. I do like how Dogmatics just doesn't care. This amuses me.
He's growling at the statue of a cat.
So
cats were quite a big thing, I think, in Egypt.
Yeah.
So
I think there was the thing about them worshipping cats again.
Yeah, I have heard that. I have heard that from a couple of pagan friends of mine, but I don't quite know I don't know exactly what the significance of cats is in that.
Yeah.
But so I don't, take
I
it with a pinch of salt. This is because this is stuff I've heard sort of second and third hand.
Yeah, I do think there was a deity who was depicted as a cat, which sounds more reasonable to me than them actually worshipping cats.
Yeah.
And of course, they're in Egypt. There's a lot of venomous snakes. There's things like that cats would have chased and killed and eaten because that's what cats do. So very useful, equivalent to having a ratter in a pub or something.
But so he's been Edifice has been warned once again. I mean, she's presented the ghoul saying, "Hey, Gedivix here has a magic potion that could help us build this palace and so on." But of course, she still gets the warning that you'll be going in to the crocodiles if you don't pull this off. And then you got Asterix. She looks bad tempered, but she has a pretty nose.
Yes, what a nose.
Yeah.
So there was Bast, as Ringer's just said in the chat, but there was also Mutt as well, I think. It just amuses me that the fact that there's a cat deity named Mutt, although it is one T. So I may be pronouncing that wrong. But we have Edifice, who designed his own home.
You can see why he's probably not that good. He's probably not that good of an architect. Looking at this, really,
I mean, did his hand slip?
Yeah.
And then the door jams. Must have made a mistake somewhere. Yeah, just a little one.
Of course, you know what happened. Then, of course, you know what happens with Obelix indoors whenever that happens.
Yeah. And the steps are all wonky. So, Gedivix really, he needs their help. I do like this one about the scribe. The scribe speaks all the modern languages, and his name is Ex Libris.
Yeah.
But I do like this one. How did he become a scribe? He took a correspondence course at a very good college. The advertisement said anyone who could draw could write. I'm not sure if this is a very British joke, but it is definitely a very 70s joke, I think.
Yeah.
60s and 70s joke, which I'm going to let Scummer explain because I think it's probably more your than mine.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I was more an 80s child, so I wasn't really familiar. I didn't hear that one very often, but I've got to be honest with you, I haven't really. That's not a joke I've heard too often, so not one I'm that familiar with. But I'm guessing that's I'm guessing that's got something to do with like school kids or something. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, for me, I feel like it's a bit of not a shot as much, but a bit of a nod to the Open University and concepts like that.
Yeah.
And the idea that, for the first time sort of in history, you could learn at home. And the idea that this ancient Egyptian would have done something similar. Because being a scribe in ancient Egypt was a hereditary thing. And it was secretive from what we know. There's a tomb of a scribe, and from the hieroglyphs we know that he wrote in hieroglyphs like how he knew all the inks and how to make them water insoluble, and he would pass this knowledge down only to his firstborn son, and it would be kept secret. And it's all there on his tomb, from what I know. Again, this banner's going to get a lot of use in this episode. He's not an Egyptologist, but
neither am I, for the record.
Yeah, but you're doing better than I am, to be fair, on this one. So that one amuses me.
So we get to our rival architect here, who's kind of coming there, sort of offering help, really, but they don't. Edifice isn't a fan of his methods, and so he's like, "No, I'm not."
Yeah, this idea of a man who works his slaves to death. I do enjoy the fact that he then falls down the stairs because they're uneven.
Yeah.
Which is just perfect. This is not Edifice making a mistake. This is where my scanner misbehaved for some reason. I think I knocked it.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Although
Just
it's
for the
nice and
record.
timely. And the guy, we can hazard a guess what he's saying here.
Right. Chat's saying that there's you've got a slight echo coming. I mean, I can't hear it, but I can't hear it. But chat's saying.
Okay. I'm not sure what's going on there because I'm using headphones and a microphone.
Shouldn't be because I'm.
Okay. Any better? No,
yeah, I mean,
I think it might be coming back, feeding back through to you, Jeff.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't hear any echo at all, but yeah, there was. Right. Just let us know in the chat if that's sorted it out. So, so where are we at now?
So he's just falling down the stairs, and I do like the comedy of this. He's really showed his teeth. Don't use that sort of language. It reminds me of crocodiles.
Yeah.
So off they go to the building site instead, with a dog, because that's useful. I do like the dog literally just knows that one of the columns and the whole thing came crashing down.
Yes.
Am I the only one who thinks this scene could have been pulled straight out of a DreamWorks movie? This top one.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
This comment about the slaves, I'm going to let Jeff talk this one out, I think.
Sorry, chat says the echo's gone as well. Cool. So here's the bit. So here's the building site. I've had top quality stone brought in. But then they're saying, are those slaves? No, there's no slave shortage. There's a slave shortage. So they're emancipated. You just can't get them. You just can't get them to. Those are free laborers. But it's like that. I just love this whole thing of the fact that they're saying why the whips. This is we've always used whips as workers in Egypt. It's just what we do. And it's like they and they take it in turns. I think this is similar to what was the jokes. I can't remember one of the earlier books we did, but they do have some little digs at free market capitalism and like labor relations in these books. So it's sort of about like and was it like the thing with the gladiator? I think it was about the thing about the oh no, they're not slaves, they're partners.
Yeah. The pirate ship.
Yeah, exactly. It's
I do like though the double entendre of nothing like a little nip to get you going.
Yeah.
I don't know if it translates to down south, and I don't know if it translates worldwide. A little nip in some versions of British English is a drink, as in a shot of whiskey or something to get you going.
Yeah.
So that amuses me a little bit. Again, very much you can tell this was translated by someone who is English as opposed to just.
Yeah. And then right at the bottom panel of this, I love this. You got he said that they're all on their lunch break or whatever now. So he said, why aren't there's two of the slaves right down in the bottom, and that panel is positively brilliant. One of them's using the whip, and the other one's trying to pull this great big block of stone by himself. And the thing is, they're doing overtime. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. And the idea of a lentil break, very popular ancient Egyptian dish. So
So we got the rival architect here. He's turned up to cause a bit of disruption.
Yeah, I think there's a phrase for people who do that, who whip up the workers into revolt. But essentially they go on strike.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
So I do like this one at the bottom, which amuses me. As much as he's worried about being fed to the crocodiles, he doesn't want his blood curdling because the crocodiles are sacred crocodiles, so you can't just feed them any old thing. And I 100% agree with Obelix on this one.
These
that
Egyptians
Egyptian is
are crazy. Yeah. So go to find out what. So go on to find out what the dispute here is all about. So it's nothing to do with wages. They're very well paid. They want less whipping, and if I reduce the whipping, and they don't work if I do that, they're not going to work so fast. Which is,
I mean, what? This is the point at which I'm going to stop and say my piece on this.
Yeah.
These slaves are very deliberately drawn to look like any other Egyptian. And it was done before as well. The gladiators were drawn to look like any other Roman. And they were... And Obelisk has this concept of treating them well. And Asterix and Obelix do this. They did it in Rome. They're doing it in Alexandria. And yet there is never any commentary on the slavery of black people in this, or what's depicted as being black people in this. It's like they just don't exist.
Yeah.
And that's very telling. And I am going to say my piece on this, that's why I absolutely maintain this is not... You can talk as much about, that they're against slavery and against being cruel and everything else. In the context of the books, possibly, but it's very insidious the way they're not. And a lot of it is about what they haven't said rather than what they do say. And that's an issue.
I agree with that. I agree with that because we've covered this before. Because very often, not only are some of the cartoons of black people just they're fucking awful. Let's be honest. There's no defending them. But they are quite often in these books seem to be depicted as slaves. Which is not how we've talked about this before. It's not how slavery in the ancient world worked.
Slavery was not race-based in the ancient world. Slavery was based on, did your father fight in a war that his country lost? Are you in debt? Could your parents afford to feed you, or did they just leave you on the street for the slavers to pick up? Were you captured by slavers? It's not a race thing. You could just as easily have a Roman stood next to a Gaul, stood next to an Egyptian on the slave block, as you could have, three Brits, a Gaul, a Spaniard, and it wasn't... There was no only these kind of people as slaves. From a physical thing like skin colour. It wasn't. That's not how it was. And I'm not saying it wasn't horrendous. Some of the stories of slavery in the Roman Empire and the Roman Republic were just as horrific as anything modern, if not more so. But it wasn't race-based.
No.
And the fact that the only slavery that Asterix and Obelix consistently don't question in these books is the slavery of the representations that are supposedly supposed to be black people is really, really problematic. Because it seems to be that that's the only one they don't question whether they should be treated well. They don't question whether they should be whipped. They don't question the fact that they're slaves and not depicted as anything else.
Yeah, I mean the closest they ever do to questioning it is in one of the later books, but that's not necessarily to do with like them being black. It just so happens that we'll get to it. We'll get to it. So this is quite a way off this book yet, but I think it's called Mansions of the Gods, where the Asterix and Obelix a little part of that plot line is stirring up a slave revolt, but it's still it doesn't go. It's not really going very far in the direction of what it needs to.
Yeah, I mean, so far in these books, I'm not going to call them black people. The representations of black people are set pieces. They don't speak so far. And I know that because the first time one of them spoke in this, I was surprised. The only other one that spoke is the one that was on the pirate ship and had taken a knock to the head a couple of books back. And that was just some random throwaway line of no significance whatsoever.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on from that now, I've said my piece. Getafix is now going to brew his potion, and I do like this one. Obelix trying to get the potion.
Always tries. Tries.
I mean, even Dogmatic's got a drop of it there.
Yeah. What I do love about this is like the panels below are just showing them how it works, and Dogmatics is chasing after this great big block of stone that they're throwing.
Yeah, I do like this one. He trying again, but tries to put on an Egyptian headdress.
Yeah.
Not a good enough reason to use the word penetrate. But yeah. It's amusing.
Yeah, so
and then off they go. They start building.
Yeah, and they're right down the bottom here. I love this little verbal gag. This is brilliant. What's left of the potion on that little puddle there? See, Dogmatics is licking it up, and you see this great big dog coming up next to him, growling. Of course, the other dog has not had any of the magic potion, and the next scene. Dogmatics is chasing him round, and his other dog's like yelp, yelp, yelp.
Which is nice and amusing. If anyone's ever met a corgi or some Jack Russells, you know exactly what this is. There's some Yorkies that are like that as well. Chihuahuas. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Very much little dog syndrome here of Dogmatics.
Yeah, little dogs are vicious little. Well, vicious. We'll call them customers.
They can be fierce.
Yeah.
They tend to forget that they're not great big like Rottweilers and so on. So.
Yeah, and I've seen little dogs chasing great big Rottweilers a couple of times. It's both frightening as it's happening and absolutely hilarious after the fact. Because you do sometimes worry for the Rottweiler, because the Rottweiler won't fight back because it looks at this thing and thinks no. So that's
so Dogmatics certainly is definitely got little dog syndrome there.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the Napoleon complex, I suppose.
Yeah. But I also do love. I'm not sure if it's deliberate, but there's kind of a joke that if you want something building properly in the building industry, you hire foreigners.
Yeah.
In Britain, there's a bit of that joke going on, and I do wonder if that's possibly a bit of what's going on here, especially with this one, how quickly they did it. So again,
so our rival architect here, who's trying to sabotage the project, he's had to come up with another idea, this is, and it's to get the supplies dumped in the Nile.
Yeah.
It's just
Some nice translations. Unload the stones. Not on the banks, on the other side. I do like this one. Ain't no use arguing with a. Oh, you reckon the gaffer must be crazy? With accents.
Yeah.
I don't know why I read that as like a West Country accent.
It does. I'd imagine so. I'd imagine so.
So that's. I do like this one. For anyone who doesn't know the slang, the gaffer is the boss. Because I know we have an international audience.
Yep.
So the labourers are stopping working because they've run out of stones.
There's a lot of British slang words for boss as well. So
yeah, not all of them.
Yeah, some of them
polite.
Regional, not all of them polite. But you got things like the governor, or which is a bit of a more of a southern, certainly a London one. But
yeah,
things like that.
Yeah, foreman.
Yeah.
That sort of became more of a generic term, but there is the mill foreman was a thing, but it became more of a generic term for the boss as time went on.
Foreman was an actual job title.
Yeah.
It still is. I think it's not one of my first jobs. We had a foreman. So they're obviously going to find out what's going on. So labourers are stopped again because these stones have been chucked in the Nile. He goes to see the captain of the. He says it's something to do with travel expenses, but
this is brilliant. I love how how do you say talk?
Yeah.
And then he repeats it, and I love how it's just literally it's like a child saying it. You can almost infer from that, and it's a great representation of people learning to speak a language.
Good little visual pun, I think, there. And then, of course, Obelix slaps him silly, and says they paid it. The other guy paid him to drop the cargo in the Nile, and so there's a stone quarry or something, but he said he'll be happy to go get it, and please don't quite be so hard.
So down they go, down the river.
So they go down the river to get some more stuff, and Obelix then towing them down the river to make this. This is a bit like this joke from last week about them jumping out and pushing the boat. This time he's tied a rope off, and he's almost like dragging them down the river like like a canal horse, only at a very, very high speed.
Yeah. And of course, all Obelix really cares about is the fact that he can't get wild boar in Egypt. Which is, sad. And they decide they're going to go see the Sphinx and the pyramids while they're there, because they're there to be tourists.
Yeah.
But this entire next scene is just hilarious to me.
This is brilliant.
Yeah. So off they go, off to see the pyramids, and they're wonderstruck by the Sphinx. Amazing. Although Dogmatics is, doesn't like the big cat.
No.
Souvenir portraits. If anyone's ever been to a major historical site, you know that there are photographers, and word of warning, if you ever go to Rome, there's about 3 of them by the Trevi Fountain. They charge you about €10 to use your own camera and take a picture of you throwing a coin in. Just buy a selfie stick and do it yourself.
Yeah.
Seriously. So and Obelix decides he wants to see the view from on top of the Sphinx.
Yeah.
because that's going to
So
go well.
you know what's going to happen here.
Bang goes the nose.
Bang goes the nose, and there we go. That's one of history's great mysteries solved.
Yeah.
That's what happened to the Sphinx's nose.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, they bury it where no one will ever think of digging it up.
Yes. Right next to the Sphinx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then the portrait artist notices, and rather than fixing the nose, because that would be common sense,
yeah,
they break all the noses on the souvenirs instead.
Yeah.
I just, the tourist industry. There's so many jokes about the tourist industry and everything else. So, and as we've been told quite categorically, it was a beautiful nose, but not quite so beautiful as Cleopatra's.
Yeah.
So there we go. And now they're going to check out the pyramids.
Yep. Which it was pointed out that they are considered to be one of the wonders of the world. They were one of the 7 original wonders of the world. The only one still standing today, as a matter of fact. But
yeah.
And to give this some context, that Cleopatra, time-wise, is closer to our time than she actually was to the pyramids being built, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
That's that gives you a bit of an idea how long they've been standing.
Yeah, definitely. So if you imagine, if you go back, Cleopatra is about, call it 2,100 years, give or take.
Yeah, little
2,200 at a push ish.
Yeah, it was just it was sort of about, I'm trying to remember when she died. It was I'm guessing it was around
sometime in the 1st century BC. So
yeah,
in the grand scheme of things, not that long ago. These pyramids, I think, are age of pyramids. I should have googled this beforehand. They believe 3,000 BC.
Yeah.
So she was 2,500 years to us. They were 3,500 years before her.
Yeah. And 30 BC is the date I got for her death.
And just FYI, it wasn't aliens, and it wasn't actually random French people with a magic potion. Can I just it wasn't aliens.
I'll actually say the random ghouls with the magic potion is actually more plausible than what is put on the fucking History Channel nowadays.
Yeah, it is.
That's another rant for another time, I think.
Yeah, but just because you can't conceive that people who weren't white managed to build something magnificent before white people were picking themselves up out of stone huts doesn't mean it was aliens.
Yes.
Oh.
There's someone. I'll send you a link later. But someone did a very good video about like the decline of the History Channel. That's worth a watch. Someone posted a video a few weeks ago about that.
Yeah,
but there is the very much hint of casual racism about ancient aliens.
Definitely so.
Anyway, that could be a whole other stream in itself, is going through some of that crap.
So yeah, and he's right. It's about 20 centuries. And that would have been a conservative estimate in the 60s.
Yeah.
And then they decide they're going to have a look inside. It is a fair point. It's very easy to get lost in the pyramids.
Yeah, I can imagine
so always
that.
Go with a tour guide. Don't try and do it yourself. Believe me. You do not want to take that risk.
Yeah, I know I've never been there, but that's just a bit of tourist advice there from Hissy.
I don't think you actually can go in without a guide. I really don't think they will let you.
I wouldn't have thought so. I wouldn't have thought so. But I don't know. I've never been there. But,
I haven't either, but from what I hear. So they're given torches and they leave the dog outside.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I wouldn't want to take a dog in there either. Too many bones laying around.
And which is dogmatics with his bones in a second. He's like thinking about that the same way Obelix thinks about wild boar. Quite
two
frankly.
peas in a pod. These ones, you can see why they get on.
Yeah.
And then they go in to see the hieroglyphs, and this tomb will be yours, you foreign devils. You know.
One of the things I do like though, I'm just thinking. I think it's on the next page, and it's towards the bottom. That they're getting well, so it's on the next page of my Kindle, I'd say, but it's this one there. It's the fact that I don't know, it's worse, but the fact that Obelix, despite the fact he's lost in there, he's concerned about dogmatics. That's really, he's thinking about dogmatics, so you can see that they're inseparable now, you know.
So and Obelix finally gets his. I do like the comment of this would never have happened inside a Mania.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's quite fun. And then they do smash through the Obelix on doors, even the thick stone ones.
They don't stand a chance.
And he's not entirely seeing much difference before and after the potion. But here they go, trying to find the way out. And for anyone who's ever been lost, you'll understand this one. Very serious. Obelisk is now getting hungry.
Yeah.
So now you know they're lost. And sweet little dogmatics there waiting.
To be fair with Obelix, though, that could be about 15 minutes with him.
Yeah, it could be. And then, so here they go.
And Dogmatics has come in there, and he's he finds them and helps lead them out.
Which is quite sweet.
Which is actually kind of now justifying Obelix's decision to take him. So,
as with Obelix, if you promise him a bow, you promise Dogmatics a bow, and you get anything you want.
Yeah.
An Asterix eating his own words a little bit there, which is nice.
Yep. He apologized. You were quite right to bring your doggy, which is his exact words.
Yeah. So, and the more they this one's brilliant, like a game of whispers.
Yeah.
But this one repeats this one. Yeah, I heard it the first time. And then it's magic. Only a superhuman could find his way out of that.
That's the guy who locked him in, by the way. So he's
yeah. And Dogmatics is happy.
Yeah.
I do like this one. Obelix trying to pocket one of the. This is funny because there's a history of the Romans doing this, taking these, and if you ever walk through Rome, you'll see them. There's a lot of these. There's one at the top of the Spanish Steps. And there's one on the Piazza del Popolo, and I think there's another one, but I can't remember where it is. And the Romans literally just picked these things up and brought them to Rome from Egypt. And it's interesting that Obelix decides he wants to have a go at it.
He wants, yeah. He wants to make an Obelix.
I do have to say, Asterix is right. They do look a little bit silly outside of Egypt.
Yeah.
I mean, they're beautiful, but they do look a little bit silly.
Yes. I mean, in fact, we've still got one in the centre of London. So.
Yeah. Oh, the other one's outside the Santa Maria Maggiore in Maggiore. I can't speak Italian. I'm sorry. The big Mary Church is has one outside it as well.
Yeah.
So, and now he goes back and he tells him these people have superhuman powers, and they finally make it back to meet Edifice. I do like. You have to zoom in on this because it's important to read this. After a voyage of many stadia and Roman measure of about 184 meters, as there are 3.48 centimeters in a foot, 30.48 centimeters in a foot, and 12 feet is an Alexandrian, it's easy to work out that there are about 50 and a half Alexandrians in one stadium. If anyone can actually do the maths and tell me what that translates to in Church of England, I will be eternally grateful. I nearly got a calculator out trying to work that out.
So anyone in the chat, there's your homework.
That's your homework. I'm a historian, not a mathematician, damn it. Damn it, Jim. Wrong fandom, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then we find out that Jetafix has been correcting the plans for the palace, which is probably a good thing because we saw what happened to Edifice's house.
Yes.
And this is a brilliant joke. Is this? She comes along on a giant throne, being pulled by dozens of men on wheels, and says, "Just a quiet visit, going incognito. Go on."
Yeah,
it's one of those. It's like it'd be like the Queen showing up in a private jet. Oh, just ignore me.
I get the feeling that this is. This is the feeling that whole image is based far more on a Liz Taylor movie than actual way Cleopatra might have actually been carried around. But who's to say?
Yeah. For once, Jen, it wasn't you I was saying. Damn it, too. I said Jen. Sorry.
Damn, she was making a Star Trek reference. Actually, you must have misheard that, Jen.
So yeah, it does happen.
I think the trouble is it's almost becomes a reflex thing. If you say "damn it," you instinctively go Jen.
Yeah.
A lot of they're commenting on how pretty her nose is, and goes Dogmatics. Did you see her nose, Dogmatics?
I do like this idea. This guy made a vow that if they beat him earlier in the book, that he wouldn't cut his hair.
Yeah.
And he's keeping to it. And Artifice is not happy. It's a piece of cake. Nice foreshadowing.
Yep.
Take this parcel to Queen Cleopatra. I do have to say, I love the facial expressions on on her pet. I think it's brilliant. Makes me want some Frosties. And it's not even the right animal, but it makes me want some Frosties.
Looks like a cheetah or something. I'm guessing that's what it's supposed to be. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be a cheetah or like some sort of leopard.
Yeah.
But the grin on it just makes me want Frosties. To those who aren't British, it's they're great. It's a thing, and again, depictions of race.
They're called Frosted Flakes in America.
Yeah, Frosted Flakes. And Tony the Tiger.
Yeah. That's not a British thing. I'll actually have to point out.
Yeah. So in homage from the Three Gauls. And the Queen of Queens. I actually think, was that one of her real?
Yeah. Should we just try and get that image off the screenshot just quickly, Hissy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're trying not to show them any more than we have to, really, those depictions.
Yeah. So yeah, Cleopatra was the sort of mythical queen of queens. So it is a stated name. We'll just scroll to there, and the cat's quite happy as well. Everyone's noticing how pretty her nose is. I do love how a quiet little supper is 40 dancers and dancing girls, 80 musicians, and 300 simple dishes.
Yeah.
So
that's a feast.
And of course, Obelisk is getting his feast as well. He's ordered in some wild boar from Gaul.
Yep.
So
he don't get to enjoy it for very long. If at all, because they've been arrested. Of course, because the gift to Cleopatra was a poisoned cake, which made some of her tasters rather ill. Yeah,
and the stomach burning by the looks of it, indigestion. And they're claiming they're innocent, but she has them thrown in prison. We all know what happens when you throw Asterix and Obelix in prison, but
they don't tend to be there long.
Yeah. But Getafix has got an antidote to poison.
Yep.
Although Obelix isn't quite sure what it is. I do like this one. Get out of the way. They just don't. This is a nice little joke here about modern art. This one just amuses me so much.
Yeah.
I'm tired of seeing myself in profile. Couldn't you do me 3/4 face for once?
Well, you know how I feel about what I think of modern art.
Yeah. And then Asterix and Obelix come crashing through the palace. And this is I shall show you how a queen can die. Isn't that a quote that's attributed a little bit later on to her?
It may very well be.
Again, I should say Cleopatra is really not my area. I've never studied her, even sort of informally. And of course, yes, husband, it's a leopard. That's the one. We got there in the end. So the cake is poisoned, and then she says, well, if you didn't poison it, and if you don't think it's poisoned, you eat it. Cool.
Yeah.
Slice it in 3, and of course, Obelix is greedy because he didn't get his boar.
And and you see them. They start having a god almighty argument. Asterix and Obelix.
Yeah. So there's a few almonds left, and Obelix wants to eat them out the bowl. Asterix doesn't think that's appropriate.
It's just the way he scoffs and all that. And it's like, you don't know how to behave in front of a queen, and
So off we go, and they heal the taster, and he's dismissed.
Yep.
Which he's quite happy about, because apparently all that rich food it was making him quite ill.
Yeah.
It was poisoning his life. So many puns in this. Oh, the puns. I love the idea that Obelisk teasing Dogmatics and say, "Oh, you nearly knocked me over." Anyone who's ever had a dog do that, it's quite cute. So let's
I mean,
see.
considering this dog fits in the palm of his hands, you know.
It's cute. It shows a relationship with them. I like it. Puppy. You know, this one, School Children Crossing, is just it's brilliant. It's a classic one. It's got everything, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's just a great image. That completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ring, you are absolutely right. It's arsenic. No, it's which one is it? That cyanide that tastes like, that smells like almonds. I don't think it's arsenic. It's cyanide that smells like almonds. I think. I'm sure it is. There's one of them.
Oh no. So we'll do a quick Google search on this. Cyanide, according to this, the first one that's come up.
Yeah.
It's got
cyanide is made from almonds. So to get, don't worry, you can still eat almonds. You'd have to have like
you can get it from, but in enough qualities, you can extract it from, like, you know, stuff like apricot seeds and whatever. Although I'm pretty sure Kent Hovins champions apricot seeds as some sort of miracle cure for stuff because he's an idiot. But anyway, that's going off topic. So.
I'm a historian, not a chemist. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, cyanide. I think it's in all kinds of seeds and stuff, though. To be honest.
Yeah. Gary said it's about apple seeds as well. So, yeah, I think it's
Yeah, I think it's in all kinds of things. But anyway, moving on. Open up if you value your door. Bit of self-awareness there.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of Artifice reading the Daily Nile. Quite obviously an attempt to make a homophonic pun with the Daily Mail, which fits this character perfectly.
Yeah,
this character who keeps slaves and doesn't like foreigners, and
I tend to I tend to refer to that as the Daily Heil, that newspaper. So
the Daily Fail is another one.
But
the
Daily Heil has something to do with that newspaper's history, anyway. So
yeah, definitely.
They love,
but you can see that in the comics he's reading there, Tarzan and Peanuts. Which both newspaper comic strips. And then he gives himself away because the average Daily Nile reader is about that clever. So off they go, and this is a brilliant one. Edifice is down in the cellar, hidden in a sarcophagus.
Yeah.
Asterix, what's a sarcophagus?
Yeah.
It's a big, heavy box.
Very.
He's not wrong.
I love the fact that he's got that. This is the only big box I could find, but it's not all that heavy.
Yeah. All you have to do is unwrap it. Now, I really hope he got the right box. Was what I thought when I saw this page before turning the page.
Yeah.
Because yeah, can you imagine unwrapping the wrong one?
Yeah.
Oh. Maybe not. So off they go, and they find him, and he's a little bit dizzy because he's just been unspun.
But I love the fact that the next thing that he sort of concedes, the other guy who's been sabotaging him concedes defeat, and he said that he concedes defeat and sort of says, well, you know, no hard feelings. He said, no. He said, in fact, you come along. We've got a job for you.
And get him pulling bricks.
Yeah.
So
getting a little bit of humble pie there. Well,
and now we have Julius Caesar back in Alexandria. And them having their little discussion, and he's throwing a bit of a fit now because he's not happy that he's going to lose his bet.
Yeah.
Go find Mint Jeweled, my Egyptian spy. Yeah. He doesn't want to lose face. I like you, Scummer, and I like my husband, and I like a lot of other people, but typical man to come out with something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of one of those bit of toxic masculinity there. But
it's very much so. That's I can't lose to the girl, you know.
So here we go. The spy puts on a worker's loincloth and off he goes. I'm only a light labourer, but I don't mind heavy work.
Yeah.
Always deal with more workmen. The queue's over there, and off they go.
No foreman, no whips. What have we got here? Then he finds out what's going on. He's like,
little old man with a stick can lift a brick one-handed. And Obelix trying to train dogmatics there.
Yeah.
To beg. The spy comes back and Julius Caesar thinks he's been drinking, which, you know.
Yep.
And poor Superfluous, how did he get to Egypt? Again, biggest man in the friggin' bodyguard takes a kicking because of the potion.
Yeah.
And of course, Julius Caesar recognizes the description immediately.
Yeah.
Of these three people. I do love this one. Next day in the pale light of dawn, he's
getting familiar with Asterix and Obelix now as old Julius Caesar, but
so now what we have is it's not a picket, it kind of is, but it's Julius Caesar who's called it.
Yeah.
And he's not letting the workmen through.
He's attempting a lockout here. That's what he's doing.
Ancient Gaulish war song. We've got the stones, we've got the men, we've got the druid too.
Yeah.
And those two want to go home. But, good luck getting out past the soldiers.
Yep.
I do love how they essentially turn this into what's a snowball fight with giant bricks.
Yeah. So they build a little bit of a wall, as well. But
and known as the tortoise. Yeah. Okay. Moving on from that because I
do love the fact as well that you've got one guy who's sort of sticking his head up from the tortoise formation,
Mm-hmm. He's giving directions.
Very, very fun. I mean, it's quite a famous sort of Roman tactic, that one, but I don't know how
Yeah, again, not a military expert.
Yeah.
But one of those things. I know that the idea of having shields around the edges is quite, it's the phalanx, isn't it?
Yeah.
But whether they ever put the shields on top, I can't really see any reason for them doing it because they were never really in a position to have to defend from flying projectiles.
I think it's actually called the testudo, or I think it's the Latin word, but I'm butchering that. That's the name of that formation.
Sounds like it probably translates to something like tortoise.
Yeah.
So off they go.
Yep.
The hair. Yeah, that's what that joke is, isn't it? You've got the tortoise and the hare there.
Yeah.
Doing a runner. And just the I am just going to leave this up for the puns here for a moment, because we've only just retreated. If we advance, we'll be driven into the Nile. We'll be annihilated. One more pun like that, and I desert.
I can't
even get. Yeah, I desert. Which is, yeah, pun not intended with that last one, I think. So
Obelix quite happy because they're coming for another go.
Yeah, so they're attacking on two fronts now, which, again, flanking or trying to.
Yeah.
Classic Roman tactic. If you've ever played Total War, you know you don't win that by doing anything but flanking. And bombard them with. Moving on. That's more of that kind of thing was designed by sort of around Da Vinci's era.
Yeah,
A little bit late for this.
The Romans did have siege engines, but I don't think they were anything quite like great big trebuchets like that sort of thing.
Yeah. Although I can see what they're getting at and why they draw them that way for a kid's cartoon.
Yeah.
So I've actually been quite pleasantly surprised by the historical accuracy of a lot of this, allowing for creative license.
Yeah. I mean, they did. I mean, I'll tell you, Romans did have sort of catapults, and actually, they look at what I see. They did have some weapons that might have been a little smaller than that, but not too far off. So they weren't. So they had sort of smaller catapults and siege towers. I mean, the most famous thing is called the ballista bolt, which is basically a giant crossbow. That's their most famous siege.
Yeah. And definitely not, as Gary put it, not strictly guided missiles.
No.
And as Ring put it, yeah, they look more like catapults than trebuchets. Again. So, and off we go. Sending the Queen a message. We know what the joke's supposed to be, but that's what. I before E accept have to see. Which is, an amusing little one for the kids who this is aimed at, and it would probably have been learning that rule around the time they were reading this story. So nice one there, a little bit educational.
Actually, Ring, I'm going to say I do agree with what you said. They are more like catapults than a trebuchet. So I just thought you said in the chat that.
Fair enough. Yeah. And then Obelix wants to send Dogmatics with the message. But he's only a puppy, which is a perfectly reasonable point to make. He's too young to understand. As because you haven't offered him any bones, that's why. But Asterix, bless him, decides he's gonna make Obelix feel better.
Yeah.
And takes Dogmatics to the palace. Those are definitely catapults, aren't they? Look at them.
Yeah.
He went the same way as he came, just passing through. And then they're in Cleopatra's palace, and the little dog has a message now. I do love. She seems to be an animal person, and I like her for this.
Yeah. She's like, oh, bring a bone for the little dog.
Yeah, bring a bone for the little dog. She keeps the leopard. She's definitely an animal person. So
But I love the next panel though.
yeah,
They bought the dog a bone, and the poor taster has to taste it first to make sure it's not poisoned. And Dogmatics is growling like, "Give me the bone."
One of the besieged men is trying to break back in.
Yeah.
It's a very and then lying to Obelix a little bit, and saying that Dogmatics made it and just got back, not giving up that Asterix went with him, which is quite sweet, I think, of Asterix to do that.
Yeah, I think that was good of him. That was good. That was a nice little thing to do.
Yeah. So here we go. Caesar, someone wants to speak with you. Who is it? I'm going to keep it there, I think.
Yeah.
You can imagine what's under carrying her.
Yes. We'll try not to show that particular image. No.
So, here she appears, and just quickly,
skim past it, and yeah.
And Caesar is blushing and stuttering because he's been caught. And
she reads him the riot act for trying to sabotage the whole.
So she's reading the riot act, and he's quietly whipped.
Yeah.
Although not literally, but which you have to be careful of in this story. And he might be into that.
He might have been into that, Hissy. Who are we to say?
Who are we to say? Exactly. Yeah. And we don't kink shame in my channel.
We certainly don't. We don't kink shame great historical figures like Julius Caesar.
We don't kink shame anyone, so that's fine. I wouldn't want Cleopatra to turn her nose up at me. Can you imagine the shade under that?
Yeah.
So, and it's a very pretty nose, in case we didn't mention it before. And as we said, what a nose.
Sorry, you see what your hubby's put in the chat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Husband, if I crack and get a giggling fit on this stream, I'm gonna come for you. You know that, right? Yeah, Cleopatra and her snakes.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on before I get into a full-on giggling fit. And here we go. Now the Romans are helping to build it. First they knock it down, now they're helping repair it. And classic from Obelix there. These Romans are crazy.
Yeah.
And Jetafix helping fix the roof design there.
Yeah.
So the palace is finished by the agreed date, a rare occurrence in building trade at the time. Has anyone ever actually seen a building job finished on time? Ever?
Yeah.
So this is what she said. She promised she would cover him in gold.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show this one with the trigger warning because I want to point out this is the first time one of them speaks and says something that's not completely just vapid. And it's a snarky comment about, I'm coming back, I'm coming.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the depiction, although I can appreciate the joke.
Yeah.
So with that one. And then she's going to invite Caesar to go down and look at this palace and prove that her people are not decadent. So she's built this beautiful, decadent, gold-covered palace to prove her people aren't decadent.
Absolute epitome of decadence there. And, yeah.
Yeah, irony. And just to prove this is what it looks like, it's not exactly low-key, is it?
No, not
So,
at all.
and then Caesar's going to get to cut the ribbon, but he's nice and magnanimous and lets Cleopatra do it.
Yeah.
And I do like this one now. Who knows best? She says.
Yeah.
And Asterix says, that's a pretty nose. I'm married. The number of times I've said that to my husband now. Who knows best?
Yep.
That's probably one of the best representations of their relationship in this comic. And then you've got the banquet, which we will skim over for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But, huge banquet, and they've come to say goodbye now. And Getafix still can't get over that nose.
Yeah. I will actually just I won't show the panel here, but they did say something about a banquet. It says at a banquet for 14,000 guests, it had been planned to invite 13,000, but Egyptians are superstitious.
Yeah.
So
so they gave us some. So she gives them some manuscripts from the library.
Yeah.
And I do like this little joke. If you ever need anything else built in Egypt, say a canal between the Red Sea and the Mediterranean, well, call someone from our country.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. Because of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was I believe it was a joint French-British project, wasn't it? The Suez Canal, but I like that.
The Suez Canal and the ensuing
yes.
shall we say disagreements?
Yes.
It caused are amusing to me.
But we get that here that she's given she's lent them her own barge to have to take them back home.
Yeah. And the captain gives the order to go. It's a nice modern ship look.
Yeah.
All that on it. And off they go, full speed ahead.
Yeah. And the next paddle, the next couple of paddles is hilarious. Obelix says, do you think we'll meet the pirates again? He says, I don't know, Obelix, but I get the feeling they're not far away. Sure enough, down below,
he's down there. He's in the galley. He had to take the job to pay for his last boat. Down in the hold. Sorry, not down in the galley. I'm just gonna. After a cruise lasting several weeks. A luxury cruise. They're back, says the child. He wants to compose a little song, so they all go running inside.
Yep.
And we have the traditional feast as always.
All cacophonics, bounds and gags.
Still, yes, Getafix still going on about her nose. Although I do love this little extra bit at the end. Which
this is.
If you're gonna break pattern by putting something after that, this is how you do it. The chief doesn't like these new style of menus that Obelix is trying.
Yeah.
Although
let's keep it ghoulish.
Yeah. Although given his name, which is nice and amusing.
Yeah.
Obelix making obelisks. It's an amusing little thing. And Dogmatic's there. We just one ear up, a bit confused. We've all seen dogs do that, I'm sure. And the chief is not happy. But that's the end of Asterix and Cleopatra.
Yeah, there was quite a bit to unpack in that one, wasn't there?
Yeah, little bit. We've gone for like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And this is actually one of the shorter ones.
Yeah.
But there is a lot to unpack. A lot of social concepts to look at, a lot of history. I do like that. If you actually look at it, and this is something I noticed, Cleopatra by the end, her nose is marginally smaller than it was. If you look here, and it's marginally smaller than it was at the start.
Yeah.
And this amuses me for a reason I'm going to go into. The joke online seemed to be that she'd had a nose job. And what I would strongly invite you to do on that concept is go and look up the TV tropes page for Older Than You Think It Is. They actually did have plastic surgeons in ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
Which just a nice little amusing. I think it's probably just an artistic thing rather than anything else. But it made me laugh to see it. So, and apparently in later books as well, she appears and her nose is smaller again. So,
yeah.
Although I will point out, apparently, the creator of this has a habit of his characters who he wants to be represented positively and liked all seem to have big noses, which is a pattern that we've all noticed.
Yeah.
So all the Gauls have them. A couple of the Romans have them, although not many. Julius Caesar does, who I think we're supposed to be mildly sympathetic towards. So it's an interesting. There's probably articles on it.
Yeah.
I can imagine. So there's quite a bit going on there.
So that was yeah. I mean, I enjoyed this one. I mean, like I said, we had to address the obvious issues with some of these books, which are which does put a little bit of a downer on these streams, but on the whole, this this is just enjoyable stuff to read. If you can get past some of those things, this stuff is very enjoyable. And I think like I said, there is an awful lot of like very good like historical sort of puns and stuff within this, which if you know what you're looking for as well, is really so they could be enjoyed on so many levels, this entire series. So I guess, are we going to do Asterix and the Big Fight next week?
I think, is that the next one? Let me check my book.
I believe so. I believe that's the next book.
And it is, yeah, Asterix and the Big Fight. So that's going to be over on your channel.
Yep.
I'm ready. Let me read it. In Asterix and the Big Fight, Chief Cassius Ceramix has gone over to the Roman enemy. The fight for control of the village between vital statistics and his rival is bound to be a knockout. Ooh, interesting. So that should be fun.
Yep.
Looking forward to that. So let's see. Have a look through the comments. See if there's any we've missed that we can go back and have a chat about before we log off.
Well, I will just remind people of one thing before we go. I'm going to put the link in the chat that there's a stream coming up in a little bit on One Ring's channel, which I'm going to put the link for in the chat right now. It's House of Mouse Star Wars today. So
House of Mouse Star Wars, brilliant. Okay, yep. And of course, Ring is going to be running that over on his channel. So go over and in fact, if you probably click his name in the comments, you can probably go to his channel and have it ready. So that's an option as well. I do love your new profile picture too, Jeff. Nicely done. And yes, Ring, mammoths and the pyramids were contemporaries around about.
Yes.
So that should give everyone an idea. No idea. Sorry. Sorry, Exploratory Minds. I no idea. I imagine so, although
quite possibly, but I couldn't sort of swear to that, to be honest. So
it sounds like it might have been propaganda to dismiss them as a superstitious lot, in the same sort of vein as the 13 and 14 joke that we have. I can't say for certain. I think I've heard of it vaguely, but again, what can you do? Let's see. Okay. I like this one. In ads for in comics, there were ads for courses to learn how to become a professional comic book artist.
Yep, they were.
So probably a little bit of a dig at that with the correspondence course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have long since accepted that trying to figure out the correct pronunciation of any word that predates English, quite possibly a moot point, because who's going to correct me? There are academics who study this for a long time. They probably will correct me, but no one's speaking this language day to day, so far as I know. If they are, I apologize if I've mispronounced it, but I don't speak the language, so
yeah.
So let's have a look. Let's see. Yep, that's everything. That's everything everyone said, I think, pretty much. Husband, really? Really? Badumts.
Yeah.
There's only one person who can outpun Asterix and Obelix, and that is Ring. Yeah. Yeah, that's about the tortoise formation. So that's that. So we've done all that, and so Jeff, do you want to shield, or what are you getting up to?
Anything really I haven't really got anything in the plans on my channel for coming up this week, except really the next thing I've got scheduled is when we do this next week, but I'll probably be about the community. I'm probably sure I'll be on Dave's streams a couple of times in the next week at least. But yeah, people know my channel by now, so
yeah, everyone knows who you are, and go and subscribe if you aren't already. Link in the description below. As always with me, link all my links in the description below. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button. Thank you all for coming.
And if anyone in this chat is actually watching this and not subscribed to Hissy, subscribe to her now, please.
Thank you. Yes. So yes, that's Jeff there. Much appreciated. Thank you all for coming as always, and I'll sign off as I always do with take care, be good, and if you can't be good, be careful.
So